and the slides will be posted on our website at the end of this call along with the recording. One quick tip, you're able to see who are the other individuals who are on this call right under the attendee panel where you see the number 28 displayed. You're able to click on View All Attendees, and you can see some of the other names of the IFs that have joined. There's a group in Edmonton, I believe, that's joining as a cohort, so you can't individually see their names, but you're able to see the names of the other individuals that are on this call. With that, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Matt, to get us started.
Thank you so much. Sandra and I would really like to welcome everybody on the call today. This is a really unique event. It's the first time we are connecting improvement facilitators or those doing similar work from across the province. We have today people with various titles and skill sets that are driving forward the work of the medical home and doing some awesome work in primary care. There's a little logistics that go into a province-wide call like this, so just as a side note, please be forgiving. If we have any issues, we will be improving those bugs for any subsequent calls. But first, I want to just introduce myself. My name is Cavanaugh, and I'm currently an improvement facilitator with Highland Primary Care Network. I started out life as a nurse in northern communities up in the Northwest Territories. I managed 3 clinics and 12 physicians for under 13 years. I worked with the Physician Office System Program as an EM transition advisor and became a mediator during that time. And now I've been with PCNs for the last 5 years. I am just one of many people who are part of the co-design team for this network. And so I would like to hand it off so that Sandra, my co-host, can actually introduce herself as well.
My name is Sandra Stable. I am an improvement facilitator at the Edmonton Southside PCN. I'm in this position here for 4 years, and I've been working in primary care networks across the province for 10 years. My previous career was as an exercise specialist doing exercise rehab programming. During this 10 years, I've seen a huge evolution and maturity in the direction of PCNs province-wide, and a culture of continuous improvement that is emerging. We're doing systems and actions that are leading to measurable improvements in primary care is delivered in Alberta. And those on the call today are at the forefront of this evolution. There's a quote by Darwin that goes, "It is not the strongest or the most intelligent who will survive, but the best manage change." And I think that's so true with what we do for work. Our daily job is to manage transformational change. Nothing's ever comfortable. No conversation we have is what we expect it to be, and nothing is ever defined for us. It's a tough place to be. Hopefully, this is the start of something great, the start of us getting together and starting to lean on each other and sharing our experiences. So on the call today, you can expect a few more introductions. We're going to go over a provincial overview. Myself and Mia are going to talk to you a little bit more about our own stories. What the purpose of this network is and how we hope it'll continue to evolve over the next months, years, hopefully, and then what you can expect next. All right, so the goal of this call, like I said before, is for all of us in our silos all over the province that are basically just treading water and sometimes struggling to know exactly what our next step is. The goal for us to start collaborating, to increase our knowledge base, share our experiences and resources, starting our messages, empowering each other to change the culture and improve primary care in the province. So it's kind of a lofty goal, but that's what we're going for. And here laughing in the background, I'm in Edmonton right now with a lot of the IF network, the other IFs in the Edmonton area. So there's about a dozen, maybe 14 of us in the room now. So another I want to make that's on this slide is that this network is developed to share information about provincial initiatives and strategies and tools. But everything you learn on this network is meant to be operationalized through the lens of your PCN. We're not telling you what to do. The goal is to just give you tools so that you can align those tools with whatever it is you're doing at where PCN is at on this journey. And so let's see who we have on the call today. I think there's quite a big list of participants there. On your left-hand side, there's a pencil. If you click on the pencil, there's a little arrow. And you click on the arrow, you can place that arrow wherever you are in the province.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Few minutes to figure it out and put your name all up. Originally, when this email was sent out, it was sent out to over 250 email addresses. And so there's a lot of people on this call from all the province.
This is Sandra. I was just going to say that as we're watching all these people come up on the map, that it's just a really good way to illustrate that there's a whole lot of us who are doing similar work and trying to inspire change in our clinics and in our PCNs, and it's just really cool to see that we have so many people from all over the province who are sort of sisters and brothers in change.
Until we actually got together and started talking about developing this network, I didn't realize how many of us there are in the province, and this really illustrates. People names popping up. I don't want to leave anyone behind. So let's move along then. Now, to introduce to everyone, Carrie Remington. She's an improvement advisor with Towards Optimized Practice, mostly in the Calgary South zone of the province. And we'll share with us today a little bit more of the provincial outlook of how IFs fit into the provincial primary care networks. And so, Carrie, I'd like you to take over. Go ahead.
Yeah, sounds good, Sandra. I loved your quote about those who manage change. That's the key. And I'm guessing that maybe in 100 years, improvement facilitators will have forms and a tail, is what I'm thinking might happen. We are evening and busy, and we need 4 arms and a tail. We've been very, very busy in the province. And so I thought it'd be interesting, as you say, to chat a little bit about the Alberta environment and some of the successes that we've had as an IF group. And so I'll have you change the slides with me. I'll have you leave it here for a bit. As part of Alberta's commitment to the patient medical home, you can see there's a goal set to have 80% of physicians in the PCNs have panel identification processes in place in 2015. And this was the first patient medical home goal set for all PCNs. And I chose this goal because everything in the patient's medical home really starts with panel. You know that there are many beneficial links between panel and the other patient's medical home, such as access and screening, which is that organized evidence-based care element, capacity for improvement. So you can see the patient's medical home graph or house. All of us have seen that before and sleep with that, where we have that memorized. But really, it does all start with panel. Panel is in the center of everything we do. So we thought, when you flip to the next slide, Sandra, we thought that we would share this. So for the past 3 years, the Alberta Medical Association through TOP has collected panel progress data from all 42 PCNs in the province to see how well PCNs are progressing on that goal, that 80% goal. And it's done every summer, and the results were just released, so we thought we would share it during this call. This is new data. So I'll guide you through this. As you see, the dark green color are doctors that have established panels, and this is reported by your PCN. The light green are doctors that are actively working on their panel. The yellow are doctors that are interested but have not made any steps toward panel work, and then the orange are docs that are not interested in panel work. The gray are docs that the PC didn't really know where they fit in that range. It's pretty clear when you notice the panel progress from 2015 to 17 that the dark green or the well-established panel has continued to grow. It's pretty impressive. And many of the light green or that actively working on the panel physicians have moved into that dark green. Those yellow dots have moved into light green and now are actively working on their panel. It'd be interesting to you guys, like when you look at the not interested, they've been better identified as all the categories have been added to by the PCNs when they reduced their unknown docs or the gray section. An interesting thing we found is that the number of the PCN physicians in Alberta have grown by nearly 13% between 2015 and 17. And so they're in all stages of the panel journey. They arrived at different times by different physicians. You can see the big score on the right-hand side, and it's really good news, is that we have 69% of PCN physicians established or actively working on their panels. And it will benefit, obviously, patients, but also providers too, allowing them to do all kinds of things around population health that they couldn't do without clean panels. And you know, as IAFs, we've seen this. It's a huge congratulations to this group, as obviously this is due to a lot of the hard work that this team or this group on the call have done every day. When you look at the next slide, it's the same data but in a different way, and I wanted to share that with you because, Sandra, if you flip to the next one, you can see that each column represents a PCN. So there's 42 PCNs, 42 columns, and it just shows what each PCN reported regarding their physician member panel progress. And so that dark black line shows the progress in, that looks like a mountain, program 2015. The gray line that looks like a mountain is the progress in 2014. And, reverse. And just like we saw in the last slide, the breast is really, really looking great. Now, I wanted to share it with you as IAFs. The number at the bottom of each column is the PCN's secret ID number. So if you know what number your PCN is, just ask your top IA and they can reveal that for you. So you can see where your PCN kind of fits in the provincial journey. The other thing I wanted to share with the group, when you go to the next slide, Sandra, is when we collect this data, we are often asked, and again, this is new as of this summer, we're often asked, when it comes to panel progress, we saw on the map all the IFs from all around the province. And the question was, does it make a difference what size the PCN is, or if the PCN is urban or rural? Like, what comes to panel progress, PCNs that are doing well, what do they have in common? And what we found this year is when we were collecting the data, we did notice there was a correlation between two things for the PCNs that were doing really well in their panel progress. The thing was those PCNs that have a written patient's medical home membership plan, they did better in panel progress. So meaning those PCNs that had a written plan with fine tactics to help their PCN physician members achieve their goals, they did better with panel progress. The second thing was that those PCNs that had dedicated PCN resources to help their physician members with patient medical home goals did better as well. And of course, we know IFs are part of these resources. So as the PCNs in Alberta have really continued to invest in these dedicated resources to help advance the patient's medical home at the clinic level. So IFs are part of these important resources. They have helped panel progress move forward. Obviously your hard work and efforts that have that allowed Alberta to achieve that 69% of physicians with the active or well-established panel. Wanted to just point out a few things in this slide. IFs are shown in orange, and they grew from 10 IFs in the province in 2013 to over 100 in 2017 in the province. Managers or panel coordinators in the gray grew from 5 panel coordinators in the province in 2014 to over 300 in 2017, and this is due to the panel goal that we spoke of at the first slide. The green is the dedicated PCN EMR support. And the Alberta PCNs have really invested in the patient's medical home. They have dedicated resources to help. 2015, they had a total of 146 FTEs invested, and in 2017, you can see double, 315 FTEs invested in this work. And so your role is super important. You can see it's being recognized as such in this type of investment. The last thing here is the plus point in green represents the other roles that help advance the patient's medical home, such as medical director or physician champions, clinical coordinator, clinical resources, evaluation, and so on. So this slide is a bit confusing, but it answers the question, has all this PCN investment paid off? And it is a resounding yes. I'll walk you through this slide. Over the last 3 years, it shows the degree of attachment to a physician and shows that it's increased. And it's increased by 8% overall. So as you can see, attachment has improved across small and large PCNs and across all the zones. So look at all the dots on the far left. This is PCNs that are large. The dots that are kind of in the middle section are PCNs that are small. And the dots on the far right represent the 5 zones. So where I'm going to look is the red dots. The red dots are the 2015-16 year. And it's really because of your panel efforts actually have shown a change in the system. System change is super, super hard, and it's really hard to prove. This is a big deal. Invest in IEFs and other people who are supporting this work. This is huge. This is you want to see system change, and so this is a big deal. And having an improvement of 8% means that Mortons regularly see their own primary care provider. And not only do the, the 2015-16 data, like the red dots, show significant improvement over previous years, but it shows a directional change from previous years. So today, attachment is consistently improved across all PCNs and across all zones, and that's a big deal. When you look at the last slide, I wanted to share this with you because is attachment or continuity important? What does it mean to be attached to your primary care provider? And obviously we know as IFs, another word for attachment is continuity, and your own family doctor and not other doctors is important, but it's through your effort and work, you have increased continuity in the system. And so it's all these things that you've done, we see in Alberta these things on this slide. So you'll hear a lot about continuity this year. That's why I wanted to show you the slide as a reminder. You'll hear a lot about it this year and in 2018, and so will patients. Many people say continuity is king. It's the most important thing you can do for your health. And so see why they say continuity is king when you look at the summary documents here of the 112 peer-reviewed articles. When you have good continuity, it improves cost savings, care quality, mortality, health satisfaction, adherence, it reduces utilization, hospitalization, and you're more likely to be offered preventative care. And of course, we see that as IF in a doctor's office that has good continuity, patients are more likely to get offered screening. So I really wanted to share this. It's through your hard work that we have made system-wide improvement. So PCN level for sure, but system-wide for sure. And it's also truly something to be really proud of. Easy work, and so this is why we thought coming together regularly would keep us energized and skilled. And so I'll just pop it back to Sandra to help us hear a little bit more about how the network will help us do that.
Thanks, Terry. The conversation of putting together an IF network provincially, it's been going around for a while, but I distinctly remember at Change Agent Day last February, there was about 80 of us all in the room, and the question was posed, what could we do to better support IFs? How could we, what's the next step? And a few people got up and said that they would love to have a network that they think that it's time for us to get together more often. They didn't realize how many of us there were, the strength in numbers, and that we need to work together instead of all in our own silos. And so last April, TOP kind of took the lead and got 9 together in a room and started brainstorming what this network would look like. And these are 9 folks that were in that room. So there's Liz from Chinook PCN. Actually, there's more than that in the room, but these are the 9 that continued on, that wanted to continue on to developing this network. So Anna from Bighorn PCN, Leslie from the U of A Faculty of Family Medicine Clinics, me from Highland PCN, myself from Edmonton Southside, Charlotte from PCN, Carol from Red Deer PCN, Amanda from Mosaic PCN, and Laura from Wolf Creek PCN. So you can thank these folks for a lot of hard work and a lot of conference meetings over the summer. We were supported very closely by a few different organizations, TOP, the Alberta Medical Association, AIM. So you probably recognize most of these names: Sandy, Mila, Angie, John, Leanne, Sue, and Carrie were instrumental in what will become our IF network. And this was actually my first experience communicating really closely with other IFs in the province and starting to get an idea of what others were doing and what quality improvement looked like in other PCNs. If you use the chat on your right-hand side and make sure that you're sending it to all participants, I'd like to hear how you're communicating with other IFs and other PCNs in the province. Go ahead and type in the chat a couple minutes to see what comes up. Angela says, unfortunately, not at all. It's an area IF, which is those of us in the room together. We've been sharing one-pagers rather than reinventing the wheel. This is our second time coming together. Annie from TOP, Agent Day, and Laura agrees with that, are starting monthly meetings for an IF from each medical home. Awesome. Yeah, people saying they're not really necessarily currently connect other IFs. Change Agent Day coming up again, so that'll be coming up November 24th this year. Excellent. Thanks, everyone. All right. I'm going to take this opportunity to talk to you a little bit about why I think it's so important for us to continue connecting. Red Deer says they have a group of IFs, about 9 of them, that are getting together regularly, but not necessarily outside that group. So that's great. And I think the group in Calgary, too, called Equip, that's getting together quite often. So, so at the beginning of the call, I mentioned the idea of being a driver for change and, spend a lot of time outside our comfort zone. To tell you a little bit about my journey over the past 4 years and how I got to a point where I'm okay hanging outside my comfort zone almost every day. So I was hired into this position in September 2013 with training. I had no clue what I was doing. I had a severe case of imposter syndrome. The presentation I gave and every clinic I went to, I was just terrified that someone would find out that I had no idea what I was doing or what was going on. There's very little direction. There were very few other people, even in my PCN, who had a clue what I was supposed to be doing. And so it was a very difficult time in my career, actually. I really struggled. I spent a lot of time on, I shouldn't say this too loud, so I'm saying it to like 200 people, on job searches, trying to find, what the next step in my career was going to be, because I just felt like I know that this was actually going to lead to anything. And so, I started thinking about change or going back to being an exercise specialist. I did my master's in business, my MBA, around the same time, and it was about a year and a half into this position that I finally, sort of that aha moment, as Oprah would say. I was working on a project for school that revolved around change management, and it was a group project. And it was the first time that I thought, or that I got the feeling that I kind of knew what I was talking about. It was a group that people were like, wow, you know a lot about change management, and you're so in tune with the people side of change. And the first time that I almost had like a sense of identity around working in change management and quality improvement. And it's when it happened that I realized that being able to change is not something that you can be taught. It is a change in your identity. And it's not until you actually have that switch that you're able to really drive change in other people. And I think that'll look very different for different people. But being kind of a change agent, or being somebody who's really comfortable with continually driving change, is something that it just becomes part of you over time, if you want it to be. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, and realizing that helps me daily when I'm working with clinics and other people who maybe aren't quite ready for change. I realize that there's no teaching at them or talking at them that will make them ready for change. It's a culture change. It's a change in thinking, and maybe one day something will happen that'll get them on board. But until then, all I can do is just kind of keep chipping away and keep doing what I'm doing, and hope that people will want to follow and lead by example. So that was 4 years ago today, almost exactly 4 years to the day. Our PCN now, we have 3 quality facilitators. We're in the process of hiring 3 quality coordinators. We have 20 panel management assistants. Out of our 95 clinics in the south side of Edmonton, we have 30 that are engaged in some type of QI efforts. And engaged doesn't mean that they had a conversation with us once. That means that they're actively working on paneling and some sort of QI project. So, we could inflate those numbers, but 30 is the number of clinics that are actually engaged. So we've come a long way, and now at a place where I'm really proud of how far we've come. Not, I won't pull any punches. It's not like every day is amazing and all rose-colored glasses all the time. It's still hard. But the challenge is what makes it rewarding. And so I'm going to assume that a lot of you probably have been through a similar journey, or you're somewhere in the journey, somewhere along the line in that same journey. But hopefully us coming together will help uplift us. And those times where I was feeling frustrated and directionless, if I had other IFs in the province to give a call to and ask, what do you do in this situation, or do you have any suggestions, that would be amazing at that time. So I really hope that we can do that for you. Now I'd like to pass the buck over to Mia again, and Mia's going to share her story.
Thanks for that. All right, can you flip my slide? Awesome. Okay. So I think that what I would like to do through my story is just try to validate some of the things that you guys might be feeling doing this kind of work out in the province. And I know that there was so many that I felt quite frustrated about, and I often felt like I had the worst job in the world. Now, mind you, I wasn't looking on job boards. For me, I was always trying to think about, I worked a mile in the clinic shoes, having my own 3 clinics for a number of years, and so I kind of knew all the times what the clinics were thinking. And really, they're busy all the time, right? They've got people all the time. They're sort of in crisis mode. They're dealing with what walks in the door that day, and hopefully they can get through that workload for that day, and not always, right? Sorry, I got a frog. And so I thought, there's got to be a way that I can help them through this, because I just always felt like the clinics had a little piece of my soul, because I got it, right? But what I found is that once I moved over into work that was more PCN or provincially oriented, I realized this role didn't really have any clear goals. you know, I was sort of told by the place I was working to say, you know, you need to go out and liaise with the clinics, but when I went to, well, how do I do that? Really had a great answer for that. And so sometimes I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll try to figure it out if I can. And that's certainly not easy to do. And also, like Sandra was saying a second ago, you know, when I was a clinic manager working on this time, like when I had an issue with my EMR, we were all silos unto ourselves, right? We don't necessarily talk to other clinics, even in the same town. And so I didn't have another person I could call and say, hey, how do you guys do this, right? Constantly trying to figure out and sort of self-evolve. And I had thought on so many times that I just had somebody I could call to find out how they do it, then maybe it would take me a fraction of the time to do this. I wouldn't have to spend the time to figure it out. So the other thing, that my job was to accomplish a job that nobody else wanted to do, right? Like there was to me, a bit of a dirty job, and I say that in a very loving kind of way, because I reflect on that and I think, okay, so PCN wants me to do X, Y, and Z, and the province needs us to do this, but maybe we can't quite resource that in the PCN as much as we'd like. And then the other part was what the clinic wants, and more often than not, the clinic was like, you know, I'm really busy, I don't have time, you know, it was always a struggle, and they were just trying to deal with the avalanche of people coming at them, right? So in ways, the things that we all wanted weren't really aligned. So what I started doing was building a lot of relationships, because for the most part, if you have anybody coming into your clinic and say, hey, I'm going to make some awesome change, they would look at you like you have 5 heads, right? Because you're sort of an outsider to that clinic, and how would you know? And, you know, what makes you think you can come in here and change things in my clinic, and why? And how do you know it's going to be better? In some ways, I'm an outsider, and so very odd I would say to them, I'd say, you know, I'm a nurse, I had my own clinic for 3 years, and even just saying that, I was sort of became one of the tribe. And to build my relationship with them, because they knew that I kind of got it, that I knew what their day was like, right? And so, and also, I just for myself felt like totally alone. I was in PCN, it turns out that I'm actually the only person who's doing IF work, other than we have some people embedded in individual clinics doing panel work and so on. But I'm the only IF, and so, you know, I often am doing stuff completely by myself. The other part was to spend some time, you know, on EMR workarounds and having them optimize the EMR. And there was always a big disconnect with this, because let's just give an example here. So let's say whether it be a discussion around paneling or maybe around ASAP, and so PCN would say, okay, we need to panel all of our patients. And so we'd go to the clinics and say, okay, we need to do that. But then how do we do that? What do we actually need to do in the EMR to make that happen? How do we actually report that out? And very often from the PCN perspective, we are not meant to be EMR support, but a lot of our work revolves heavily around the EMR, and it's our primary tool from which we actually try to do all of this work. So I just feel like we're sort of walking a bit of a tightrope that way. The other part is just that there's competing priorities, as I mentioned earlier, right? There's all these things that, you know we need to do to satisfy our bosses, and there are things that the clinics we want us to do or not do, for that matter. And so we try to align those things. And so what we're hoping is that through this network, we can start to talk about those kinds of things. Maybe it's more about building relationships. Maybe it's more around EMR stuff. Maybe it's about language or aligning priorities, whatever those things might be. So sort of my goal is to help you and everyone feel like everybody has these kinds of challenges. And so connecting us all, maybe can share some of the things that have really worked for us and hopefully make your job a little easier. Back to you.
Thanks so much, Mia. And so I first sent out the email to everyone a few weeks ago. We jumping the gun. Right. So before we do that, we're going to talk about the purpose of this of group of this network. And like I mentioned earlier, those of us that got together over the summer, we spent a bit of time trying to figure out what this group is going to be, and I think without a clear purpose, these type groups tend to fizzle out, and so we really want to keep everyone engaged and keep everyone getting what they think is most valuable. And so what would be kind of our key messages are to strengthen IF knowledge and skills. And so most of these webinars, not so much today, but in the future, will be related to what you want to learn about, to support implementation of the patient concepts, to share expertise, experiences, and tools. We're really hoping that people of you will be willing to share your own stories and your own tools that you came up with. We hope to create a forum to share ideas, strategies, and solutions, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but we're going to test out a platform for how to do that, how to share these ideas. We hope to provide access to current knowledge, related trends, data collection, and provincial projects. So that probably have a place on these calls. So sometimes, things like CPAR that's coming down the pipe and all these projects that are happening provincially, and there's not always an avenue to get a really clear message across. So we're hoping that this network will offer that. Potentially access to mentors and mentorship, and so we're floating around the idea of developing some sort of mentorship program in the province for IF, and to advance understanding and recognition of the IF role. And like to count on a group of colleagues doing similar work with their experiences and facing common challenges. So kind of get everyone on the same page, working together is the primary goal, but this kind of gives you a little bit more formality. It's come up on the chat here. A few of you have asked for descriptions, and so I'd be happy to share our job description here from the Southside PCN. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but like I said, there's going to be a platform that we're going to test out for sharing these types of tools, and on that platform, things like our key messages or purpose here will be shared there too if you refer back to it. I'll get to that in a moment. So just like I said at the beginning of this slide, we want your feedback. This network is meant to be was developed for IF by IF. So we sent a question with invite to this event today, and we got quite a bit of participation back. And so I'd like to John, and John's going to summarize what the results of that questionnaire was, and we're going to use those results from that questionnaire to help give direction for this network in the future. So go ahead, John.
Sandra. Yeah, thanks everybody for completing the survey and sharing your thoughts on some of the important pieces of this network. We thought it would be interesting to know more about each other. That's part of the forming part of this whole group. And also, it gives an idea of things that you have in common with other people in this network, but also things that might be different. For instance, the category or job title or role. We set out to improve facilitators and identified as that. We also call this the Improvement Facilitator Network, but 4% of you said that you were an improvement facilitator. 7% actually said other. Some people identified as a nurse, clinic manager, panel manager, and so on. So there were quite a few job categories that have improvement facilitation as a role. Next, please. What clinics do you work with? And this one surprised me. 1 to 3 wasn't exactly a surprise, although that was almost 50%. The surprise was the number of you that said you work with more than 10 clinics, and that's 20% of you. And then you work with a number in between that. Next, please. Have each of you been an improvement facilitator or had that as part of your role? And 50% have been right in the 1 to 3 year range. And there is a significant number, 14%, at the 3 to 5. And quite a few of you, more than I actually thought there would be, that are in the less than 1 year. The nice part about looking at this picture is people that have a variety of experiences, and part of the goal of this, of course, is to learn from each other, and we each have things that we want to learn, and we each have things that we want to share. So this is a nice mix. Next slide, please. A number of projects, as you can well imagine, and each of you probably is working on several at any given time. But some of the projects that you've been actively involved with: access improvement with AIM Alberta, Alberta Screening and Prevention, EMR peer-to-peer. Some of you started with PACT, a percentage of you with panel ID and maintenance, and 32% put down other. And some of the other projects that people listed were research, workflow for referrals, chronic management, integration, experience work, meta assessments, measurement, choosing wisely, in workshops, and level quality improvement projects. So quite a number of other projects that many of you are working on. Next slide, please. We asked what topics would be a priority to you if we were to add some topics for webinars or other forums and venues for sharing. And this is some of the ones that came up. So there are priority items, moderate priority items, and low priority items. So if you look at the orange, that's the high priority. And from left to right, we see EMR use, team building development, change management, scheduling, CPAR screening, and design in terms of priority. If you add that to moderate, we actually have quite a number of topics that we can draw on, and which also means that we will be looking to some of you who have more experience in this area to help us put these topics forward and share topics and share your experience. So really anything that people have been working on in healthcare as an improvement facilitator either has high or moderate priority at this point in time. Makes it pretty easy for the curriculum working group. Things that people said excited them about being a part of a network such as this, and these directly with the goals of the overall network. Coincidence. Personal growth, make an impact through improvement work, building connections and relationships. People said that they really like the variety in the work, even though it can be a challenge switching hats. Every being different is something that excites them. Teams, teaching others skills, sharing clinic stuff, and seeing results and progress. Next slide, please. With any job, there are things that frustrate us, and asked you about that as well. Communication gaps, not enough knowledge to do the work sometimes, or time, data in EMRs that you use, engagement and motivation of others. So again, that gives us a topic to work on to overcome that challenge. Find physician champions, lack of public awareness of PCNs and patients' medical home. Even QI, who does what, are questions that come up that can frustrate the work. Feeling confident when things don't improve, and Sandra touched on that in her personal story. Thank you for that. And of course, resistance to change, which comes in many forms. We asked, I don't know if there's a slide on this, but what would be able that you would break? And people gave us a few answers. Appoint booking rules, the fundamental breaking of silos, which are there sometimes because of rules, implementing transparency of data sharing, standardized screening, standardized panel management, increased frequency of panel validation. There'll be somebody put our role definitions to increase the responsibilities within the scope of practice. I need to wait for approval before implementing some of the changes. Thank you again for filling this out. We will be using surveys to find out more about how things are progressing, how this network is meeting your goals, and to find out some similar information as we asked the first time. I'll hand back to Sandra, I believe.
Thanks, John. Sorry, I switched your slides. So now everybody caught me on that one. But thanks so much. I really like that question because the rule breaker, I think to be successful in this position, you have to be a little bit of a rule breaker or a rebel because there's always barriers in the way of change. And so that was an interesting question. So hopefully we'll get back to those results again. Maybe the next webinar we can talk about that again. So I alluded to this a little bit earlier, how in the future. And so there are three main avenues that we'll be using. The first is the Collaborate website. So on PCN PMO website, so pcn.pmo, you're putting an arrow right in front of my website. So pcnpmo.ca. Go to that website. Well, no, I'll give you the instructions for that right away. But hopefully we can use that website to share resources. There might be, there will be kind of an area to ask questions. We'll be sharing the recordings for all of these webinars there. And so I'll talk about that here shortly. The second avenue for communication will be email. Receive emails from the IF network at albertadoctors.org. You've already received emails from IF network, and so you can, haven't received them, make sure that you check your junk mailbox and just stay tuned for emails from the network at albertadoctors.org. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, stories to share, please use the email ifadmin@albertadoctors.org, and one of us will be happy to help you. It's okay, Deborah. Deborah just apologized on the chat. See, the chat is very helpful. Webinars. We're hoping to continue to have these webinars on the first Monday of every month from 2 to 3 p.m. I won't always be the first Monday because sometimes there's holidays, but I'll go over the coming case here in a couple slides, and so you can save those. We'll also send these out by email, so you can put them in your calendar well ahead of time and schedule your meetings around it. And so, as promised, join the Collaborate. Step is you're going to email info@pcnpmo.ca. Email, your subject line will be Join IF Network, Create Website, and you include your first name, your last name, your email, your phone number, your PCN or your clinic, your role, and then that you want to join this website. And you just based on a quick email to info@pcnpmo.ca. We'll send you these instructions again via email after the webinar, so you don't need to scramble to write this down really, really quickly. Once you've sent this email out, you'll get an email back with your login information. And once you log in, it looks just like on the screen here. There'll be a section where we'll share these webinars. Like I said, there will be a discussion board. We'll share things like, in the chat, it came up, job descriptions came up a few times. This is a place where I'd be happy to share a job description. And so that way everybody can access it, and then I'm not just emailing it to a couple people. So the next avenue is these webinars. So once again, the webinar today was about handling continuity, and it was our official launch. The next webinar will be November 6th, Monday, November 6th, once again from 2 to 3. It was a busy month. We'll also have Change Agent Day in Calgary on November 16th. January, February, March, and April, the dates are set. The topics are still to be determined. We're using the questionnaire that was sent out to help shape this, and we're hoping to hear from you if you have anything you'd like to share. All webinars will be hosted on WebEx, just like this one, and we'll send everything well ahead of time so you can save your calendars. So I'd like to hand it over for one final goodbye from Mia here. So Mia.
Thanks, Sandra. This feels like a baseball game. Take it home. Okay. So we really want to hear from you guys because we quite easily, as a co-design team, come together and come up with a whole slew of topics that we think you might like, but we also want to hear what you really need and want. So we want you to send us messages. We want you to give us your input or your feedback or your ideas, okay? So if you, anything that you want to share with us, even if it's just feedback on how things are going, we really are quite happy to hear all things positive and negative, I'm sure. So is the email that you can send that into at ifadmin@doctors.org. Okay. Also, you can email us just for feedback on the direction of the group as a whole, or maybe it's an idea on a topic, or maybe something that you just are feeling that there's a gap in terms of your own knowledge. If you have some success stories or projects or ideas or resources, at a point down the road, we want to share those as well. Okay. If you want to be a part of the Provincial Implement Facilitator Network co-design team, which is a combination of all the happy faces you saw on that previous slide, then please let us know if you'd like to be a part of that. You know, we do want to try and spread the work out so not any one of us is overwhelmed with all the wonderful things that we do in our days. So that's what we'd like to just make sure you're doing. Make sure you're feeding back all that information to us. So we have a couple more minutes left. We want really just to thank you for participating in the call. I also really want to do a little shout out to all the people who co-hosted today. Sandra, you did a fantastic job. Carrie, thank you for giving us the provincial overview. John, thanks for giving us the survey results. And Anila, thank you for moderating the call with us today. There's actually been a ton of work done up to this point when we had that original meeting that Sandra talked about. We have actually done a lot of work since then to communicate with executive directors and send out emails and put key messages together. The site creation was a whole big piece of work. Also, TOP is helping us to get the platform together for the WebEx. We knew we were going to have challenges around the number of people that were invited to this. So we really hope that after today you are super excited, as I am, that this network is coming together, because really sky's the limit. We want to make sure everybody is involved and that everybody has an opportunity to take part and to have a voice, and also to take advantage of some of the awesome things that's going on in the province right now. For me, one thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about my slide about was that, you know, Sarah talked about her turning point. And turning point was just having a moment where I kind of realized that because I'm working at the clinic level anymore, and I was impacting a number of clinics or a number of physicians, I realized that I could really make a difference in what's happening in healthcare. And there's so many things that I had to contribute. So, and I'm sure you guys have so much to contribute yourselves. So I think this is going to be super cool. We support each other in ways that we haven't been able to do before. So I just wanted to say thanks for all the participants. I look forward to all the future calls that we're going to have, all your questions and all your success stories. Well, have a great afternoon, what's left of it, and everywhere. Thanks, guys.